So, I heard they put your name in for the director's job. If you think they're gonna pick you, a lazy new kid who can't even write a freaking repair ticket, over me, a team manager, then you're out of your dang mind.
r/prorevenge. What is up, guys? Mr. Reddit here, back with another episode of Pro Revenge Stories. r/prorevenge is one of my favorite subreddits, and I really enjoyed making this. So kick back, relax, and enjoy the show. Our first story we'll be reading today. You're gonna regret that winky emoji. With too long didn't read. And this story comes from user Archer Coln. After that, we'll be reading, Go ahead and undermine my credentials and hard work. I'll just make sure people know who you really are. And this comes from user QB Blade. Thank you so much to our talented authors for allowing us to read your stories. And welcome to the newest members of the Re-Army, Akil Taylor, Cert2B, and Stefan. And if you're new, join the Re-Army by subscribing for new stories from Reddit every single day. You're gonna regret that winky emoji. With too long didn't read. Buckle down, because if this was a roller coaster, it'd be the Tower of Terror. It's also very long. Too long didn't read at the bottom, if you can find it. Now, just as a little disclaimer, the person involved may not read Reddit, but her son very well might. So I've changed names, places, and specific details, and I'm not going to describe the person's appearance. I will, however, be telling you of a revenge that started off petty in nature, has since had a pro outcome, and is still going. I'm a university student, female 19, in Canada, studying history. Since September, I've been struggling with both my physical and mental health. The problem with a free healthcare system is that sometimes there is a long waiting list for mental health services, and despite being put on medication, my condition was worsening. I'd gone to a member of staff, who we shall call PC, to explain the situation. Initially, she was helpful, giving me extensions on assignments and special considerations for my exams. I passed the first semester with a whopping 62%. Impressive, given the fact that I hadn't really been into any lectures. After the Christmas break, my mental health was so bad that I ended up in the hospital. I also struggled to get back into lectures as planned and submit much work. I was seeing the student support team the university had supplied and the mental health team the hospital had provided. I have a personality disorder and sometimes find it hard to control my emotions, and PC is well aware of this. However, she is going above and beyond her normal duties, and it's starting to get a little distressing. She had offered to come to my GP appointments with me, constantly email me, 3 to 4 separate email chains a day, and then got my personal phone number off the university system and started texting me. Being naive, I thought that having her phone number would be useful, as I checked my texts significantly faster than my emails. What a bad idea. What was confirming attendance for meetings quickly turned into, hope to see you soon, and asking how things in my personal life were going. The event that knocked me for 6 was when she turned up at my GP surgery after I had told her my appointment went badly. Luckily, I was on the other side of town by this point, but she sent me a string of 4 texts starting with, I'm at the GP, where are you? And ending in, I'm not going to nag you, before ringing me 3 times despite me hanging up immediately the first time. Side note, at this point, she very obviously cares about me, but she's being incredibly overbearing. I had gone in for a routine procedure at the hospital to try and sort my physical health out, a cystoscopy, if you fancy a cringe, so she sent me a text asking how it had gone. I'd been put on the same antibiotics as I was before, and when I tried to explain to the consultant that I was already on them and that the pain hadn't stopped in months, I started getting a little angry and upset. Not enough to cause a scene, but enough for them to firmly tell me to leave. I explained this to PC, and she replied with, Stop arguing, winky face. Now, given the nature of the procedure, the position of responsibility PC has, and the fact it's coming from her personal phone number, I found this extremely inappropriate. This kind of behavior went on for a couple months. I'm trying to keep her at arm's length. I still need her in terms of getting assignments in and stuff, but I don't want her reaching into my personal life. But she keeps trying. She's told me repeatedly that I will have a fit to work procedure put in place due to the lack of assignments put in, which would decide my future at the university, and that the options would be getting suspended or getting expelled. This added a load of anxiety to my life and ultimately destroyed my mental health. So after a not so helpful session with the mental health team, I submitted the worst essay I've ever written with a sarcastic note at the bottom. Still got 18%. Success. In hindsight, this was probably the worst way of trying to get back at her, as PC called me in for another meeting, but not before ringing my boss and my mental health consultant asking to attend my therapy sessions and then telling me I'm making it more than it needs to be. This meeting was hell. She started off by stroking my knee, not sensually, but way too close to be comfortable, which put my back up immediately. She tried to get me to cancel the submission, which I wouldn't, and then told me I'm going to get her fired or reprimanded if I don't. Hello, emotional blackmail. I repeatedly tried to explain I was struggling, and it's a case of mentally having to fight myself to get out of bed in the mornings, let alone research and write essays, do complex math, and attend 12 lectures a week. She kept shouting me down with things like, "Just because you have a mental health condition doesn't mean you're special," and "It took me 3 years of intensive therapy to sort my head out, so you should be fine by August." Eventually, I was frustrated, sobbing and bent over, head to my knees in the chair. This cut off the circulation to my legs after 40 minutes of feeling trapped in her office, so when I finally got the courage to leave, I physically couldn't. I made it halfway across the room before stumbling. I didn't fall. I had hold of the table. PC shot up from her chair like she had just won the lottery and held me from behind. I got out as quickly as I could. She later sent me a text at 22:50 telling me that it was really valuable. Finally, the revenge. I was so angry, I decided I was going to come down on this woman like a ton of bricks. I spent 8 hours collating the year's emails and texts, annotating them all and putting them in a folder alongside evidence I was actively seeking medical help, a condition of the university for students who are ill. I affectionately called the folder The Brick, because if all else fails, I'm going to hit her with it. This folder weighs at least 5 kilograms, just to give you an idea of the amount of trees I had to kill for this. I submitted a complaints form for 3 separate issues: emails and texts, blackmail, and physical contact, as well as a designated form for harassment. This would normally go to PC, but since I was complaining about her, I took it to the dean. Phase 1 complete. Phase 2 was the picking apart of her emails and making a case for mistreatment. The Fit to Work panel I attended, after 5 months of being told that it would happen, were going to expel me completely until I whipped out the brick and showed them 8 cases of unprofessionalism in 1 email. My sentence was reduced to only suspension, meaning I still have access to my uni email address and student union services, useful for Phase 3. Phase 3 is taking my case to the university legal team and holding this over the dean's head until a satisfactory outcome is achieved, or I'll take it to court. I'll keep you updated. And so, dear Redditors, after successfully enacting phases 1 and 2, I can confirm PC has gone on 6 months of sick leave. Let me tell you exactly why she's not on sick leave and has in fact been suspended. She was supposed to be on my Fit to Work panel. 3 days after going on this sick leave, the whole department has been told not to contact her, and if they have an urgent matter, they must send it to a different person through an online reporting system, which will be more closely monitored. We were also told that she would not be replying to emails because she's ill, which made me laugh because she had been wanting me to write 5,000-word essays despite the fact I am genuinely ill. Given the nature of PC's role at the university, handling sensitive information, dealing with vulnerable students, this will be a major blemish on her record at the least, and could well cost her her job and prevent her from getting a new one in the same field. I have since left the university for health reasons, no doubtedly made worse by the actions of PC. Next up we've got, go ahead and undermine my credentials and hard work. I'll just make sure people know who you really are. This is my first post on this sub, and it's also the first time I've actually gotten revenge on anybody. Whether it's petty or pro, I'll leave up to you. Sorry if this is kinda long. I'll put a too long didn't read at the bottom. Backstory. I'm 25, male, and I work in the IT department for my company. Our IT department branches out into 6 smaller departments: technical support, programming, web development, computer systems analysis, IT security, and network engineering. Each of these has their own boss, and the boss of these all answer directly to the director of the IT department. A couple weeks ago, I was called into the director's office when I came into work. She's an incredible person and mentor who I've mentioned in a couple of my other stories on the other subreddits. She told me that she had some good news and bad news. The bad news was that she was offered another job at a much larger company as the IT director at one of their branches in Chicago, so she'd be leaving in a couple of months. The good news was that the position for IT director at our company was open, and given my performance and reputation around the office, my immediate boss, the head of computer systems analysis, had put my name in for consideration for the job. Each of the 6 department bosses in IT had to put one name in for consideration, so I have at least 5 other people who are competing for this job, plus any potential outside hires. It's 4 now, but I'll get to that. After our little chat, I weighed the pros and cons of the job if I get it, and I decided to just go for it. I might have a pretty good shot at getting the job, since I'd consider myself a fairly likable person, a hard worker, and fairly good at my job. But there are others who are also very good candidates, and I'd still be okay if I didn't get the job. It's an honor to just be considered. Now, let me tell you about the target of my revenge. For the sake of this story, let's call this guy Gabe. As the head of technical support, Gabe had the power to recommend anyone in his department for this position, but he picked himself. Now, I already knew him and what he's like because a year ago I also worked in tech support for a short time. I was originally hired to be in the computer system analysis department, but I volunteered to help out in tech support since we were a bit short-staffed at the time. Gabe is an obnoxious, self-absorbed, arrogant, and uptight jerk who doesn't listen to anyone who he feels is beneath him. He's either in his late 30s or early 40s, but either way, he has at least 10 years on me. He's a little on the chubby side, receding hairline, and a neckbeard. All he needs to achieve his final form is a fedora. Back when I worked for him, he gave me a lot of crap for so many little things. From not filling out repair tickets right, to completing a repair slightly out of order, he would always have something to complain about. But other than that, he seemed fine to me. To be honest, I probably wouldn't have done what I did, or gone as far as I did, but then this happened. I was just doing my work and minding my own business, as one does. I stood up to go refill my water bottle at the water fountain, and guess who follows me? If you said Gabe, then congratulations. You get a cookie. Gabe walks up to me while I'm filling up my bottle and starts a conversation.
Hey, OP, what's going on? How are you?
Immediately, I knew something was wrong. He's never this friendly. But I had no easy way out of this, so I rolled with it. Hey, Gabe, I'm good. How are you?
So, I heard that the head of CSA has put your name in for the director's job.
Yeah, I'm really excited to interview. It's an honor to even be considered. Gabe just laughs and put on his normal expression of smug and gassy.
Listen to me. If you think they're gonna pick you, a lazy new kid who can't even write a freaking repair ticket correctly, over me, a team manager who's had 15 years with this company, then you're out of your dang mind.
I was shocked. I couldn't believe those are actual words that a coworker, much less a coworker with a higher position, said to my face. What the heck? Why would you say that? I did nothing but good work for you last year, and you know it.
It was mediocre at best. When I become the IT director, I'm gonna crack the whip. Why anyone would think someone like you is a worthy candidate for one of the highest positions in the company is beyond me. So I'll make sure my new department heads have better judgment than the head of CSA's.
He walked away smugly, and I just stood there, both shocked and honestly quite hurt. The only part he got right was that I was relatively new, being there for 2 years. But I also realized in that moment that I couldn't let this kind of person be the director. But again, I'm just a kid to them, so what can I do? Planning the revenge. The same day, I went down to the building's cafeteria to take my lunch break with my girlfriend. She works in the marketing department. I told her about the promotion and what happened with Gabe. She made me feel better by talking me down, and that was super nice. But what happened next was even better. A few of my friends from IT walked by to congratulate me as well, and they sat down. A couple of them are from tech support, and the rest are from other departments. My girlfriend welcomed them to sit down with us, and we made it a little party. We talked, and then I told them about what happened with Gabe. The ones in tech support all groaned, and, surprisingly, so did the rest of them. I was intrigued, and I asked them to elaborate, and all of them have their own Gabe horror stories. Turns out that his usual condescending remarks aren't the worst of it. They had stories about him ripping into an intern for not getting his coffee order right. One story about him making transphobic remarks about an HR rep. Really sweet guy. Makes incredible babka. One of them has a couple of recordings of very inappropriate comments towards the female department heads in IT, and he's even come to work intoxicated on multiple occasions. Although that last part wasn't really news to me, since he reeked of alcohol frequently. Now, at this point, you're probably asking the same question my girlfriend asked. Why don't you tell somebody? Well, I'll tell you. Our communication policy is kinda crap in IT. Rather than report a dispute or an issue immediately to HR or the director, we have to give it to our immediate supervisor, which in this case would be Gabe for a lot of them. You really think Gabe's gonna rat himself out to the director? As much as I love my boss and think she's doing a wonderful job, that's the one policy that she has that I don't agree with. At this point, we had all kind of bonded over our mutual hatred for Gabe. We had all agreed that Gabe would be an absolutely terrible boss, and we needed to stop him. We were the Avengers, and this was our end game. Which is funny since Endgame would come out the next day. Just then, my genius girlfriend said something that I couldn't believe I didn't figure out sooner. She said, "You know, this time next week, you're going to be face to face with the CEO, an HR rep, and your director for the interview. That's your opening. You can air out all of his dirty laundry right there." The rest of our faces lit up, realizing this too, and we were ecstatic. This was our chance, and we weren't going to waste it. Gabe is a terrible human being and would be an even worse director. He had to go. But I would need proof first, so that's what I got. Revenge time. Along with rewriting my resume and brushing up on my interview skills, I spent the next week of being something of an investigative journalist. I asked my previously mentioned coworker to email me those recordings he had of Gabe's inappropriate comments, which, by the way, were absolutely sickening to listen to, as well as spending time interviewing members of the tech support team, as well as some of the other department heads. Almost everyone had some form of bad experience with him, ranging from unprofessional to downright abusive behavior. The head of web dev even said that she was always comfortable whenever they were alone in a room together. By the time I was done, I had 3 voice recordings of Gabe, 4 pages of quotes from people around the office, and the stories I had originally heard at lunch that day when we began planning. I really wanted to prove his whole day drinking thing, but I was afraid that going that far might cost me my job. But what I wanted to do was sneak into his office, open his drawers, and hopefully find empty liquor bottles or something to that effect. But what I had would just have to suffice. Then the day came. We were in the end game now. I showed up to work the day of interviews in my finest suit, my resume, and literal pages of evidence to make my case. I walked into the office and saw my competition along with a bunch of other people who I didn't recognize. Those were the outside hires. I was getting pretty nervous now, especially when I saw the interview committee in the conference room through its glass walls, the CEO, my director, and an HR rep. I took a few deep breaths, checked when my turn was, and then I sat down to do my work, just waiting to make my move. A few of my coworkers came by my desk to wish me good luck, and that made me feel a lot better about it. I waited and waited for my turn, and then saw Gabe walking up to me from the conference room, so that means his interview must have just finished. I pulled out my phone and went to voice memos and began recording, just in case I got anything more out of him, and oh boy, you bet I did. "What's up, Gabe? How was your interview?"
Great, obviously. The job is as good as mine. You might as well not even try.
"I'm still gonna try my best, man. Who knows? I might even get it."
Yeah, keep dreaming.
He starts to get up in my face, and I can smell his lunch on his breath. Too many onions. He then starts hissing at me.
You're absolute trash, kid. They're not gonna pick a kid with 2 years of experience with an undergrad degree over me. I've been at this company for far too long, and got my undergrad degree and my master's from Princeton. Don't think for a second that you have the upper hand. You're nothing to me.
I held my breath while he ranted, and then he walked away to talk to another one of my coworkers who had their interview already. Coworkers around me just looked at me, both shocked and confused once he walked away. I grabbed my phone, stopped the recording, and played it back. That was it. That was the final piece. I waited for a couple more interviews to finish, until they finally called me in. I grabbed my bag and my phone and walked into the conference room. As I walked, I could feel the eyes of some coworkers on me. They knew my plan, and I think they were counting on me to pull this off. Once inside, we all shook hands and exchanged formalities before sitting down and letting the interview begin. Not all of it is relative to the story, so let me just skip to the end. The CEO. Given the amount of internships you've done and how much time you've put into the company, you may have a good chance. However, we've just interviewed people with almost triple your experience. How do you stand out from the rest? Well, if I become the new director, I already have some ideas for policies I'd like to put into place. The director. Oh, really? Would you care to give us an example? Don't get me wrong. I believe that you have done an amazing job as director of this department, but there are some things that I think can be improved upon. For instance, our policy when it comes to HR. HR rep. Could you elaborate on that, please? Certainly. In the IT department, when we have any disputes or grievances to settle, we need to report them to our direct supervisor, not the director, but to the lower department heads. My goal is to streamline communication so workers can report issues directly to the director or go to human resources. All right, but can you tell us why the current policy is an issue? I started smiling. This was it. This was my opening. Funny you should ask. Recently, I heard stories from a bunch of my coworkers about our head of tech support, Gabe. He's been very rude to his staff and to others on multiple occasions. In fact, I think unprofessional is a bit of an understatement from the stories I've been hearing. Right then, I reached into my bag and pulled out the long list of stories and quotes I had gathered from the past week and handed them to the CEO. I care about my coworkers, so I did some digging. I really feel like this is something that you need to see. I watched as the search committee read the quotes and stories. I watched their expressions turn to shock and disgust, which I totally get. I felt the same way when I heard all of this. This is a conflict of interest. From what I know, Gabe is also your competition for this position. How do we know that these stories aren't fabricated so that you could get an advantage? Because offenses like this could result in immediate termination. I hope you have a way to prove these very serious accusations. I had a feeling you'd say that. You are free to interview any of the people I quoted, but I can just save you some time and show you this. I pulled out my phone and opened up the email that my coworker had sent me, and all four of us listened to the neckbeard's disgusting and upsetting quotes. But I wasn't done there. I also pulled up the most recent one, the conversation between me and him. My director just looked down at her desk, and then they looked at each other. I was the one to break the silence. I'm sorry you had to hear all of this. Could you please email those recordings to me? I would like to address this immediately. Of course, you are free to keep those papers too. I forwarded the email to him along with my recording. Thank you for this information, OP. We'll let you know our decision when the time comes. Of course. Thank you for your time. I shook everyone's hand again, and then that's when the HR rep spoke up. Can you please ask Gabe to come back? I would like to address this immediately as well. I'm ecstatic at this point. I would be happy to. I leave the room and notice my friends in tech support just staring at me. My girlfriend was also sitting at my desk, since we had planned on going out for lunch after my interview. I didn't want to give anything away, so I kept a straight face and walked past them and towards Gabe's office. I walked in and sighed. The interview committee wants to see you again. Gabe just looked up from his computer and just gave me a cocky smirk as if to say, I told you so. He got up and pushed past me towards the door. I followed behind him towards the conference room, and we parted ways when he went in, and I walked towards my desk. I wanted to see exactly what happened. I watched what unfolded through the glass walls. I saw Gabe's face turn white, and his expression turn from smug to terrified. He turned his head to me, and I had this crap-eating grin on my face. I just waved. then left my office with my girlfriend to have a nice lunch. The aftermath. I was feeling pretty good about the whole day. I got my revenge, did fairly well in the job interview, and had amazing chicken parmesan for lunch that day. I felt so good that I decided to take the rest of the day off. I went to the zoo, saw a really cute koala bear. The next day, I came to work dressed down since interviews were over, and then patiently waited for the committee to make their decision. When I walked into the lobby of the building, my two friends from tech support ran over and trapped me in a bear hug. Well, this is new. What's this for?
You did it!
I got the job?
No, we wouldn't know even if you did. We're talking about Gabe.
I stopped him from getting the job?
Oh, you did a lot more than that. But you'll just have to see for yourself.
Both of them dragged me to the elevator to go up to the IT floor. When we get there, they dragged me through the main office and over towards Gabe's. When we got in, all I found was an empty room with a desk in the middle of it. My jaw dropped. Apparently, I collected so much evidence for Gabe's misbehavior. Not only did I eliminate him from gunning for the director's job, but he was also fired from the company and potentially blacklisted since everything I submitted for evidence against him was put on his permanent file. I'm not sure if he was blacklisted or not, since I'm not entirely sure how that works, but he's definitely gone for good. I asked them about the details of what happened after I left. They told me that Gabe was so mad, probably at me, that his face was bright red. After he left the conference room, he spent the rest of the day packing up and drinking in his office. So I guess my day drinker theory held up. He left in shame, and we won't see him again. I was so excited. Gabe was gone, and I felt like the office was a brighter place. People were so excited that a few people outside the tech support department brought in a bunch of desserts, from cheesecake to brownies. They were delicious, but I think what made them taste better was knowing I did something to cause this rush of joy. I think the best part of this whole thing is that only a couple of people know that I had something to do with this. The rest of them, totally clueless. I'm not the protector that IT wants, but I'm the protector that IT needs. Now, enough humble bragging. It's starting to make me feel like a jerk. In hindsight, I don't know what would have been more satisfying, doing what I did, or getting the job fair and square and firing Gabe. But if there's one thing I learned in life, you will do things that you are proud of, that you will enjoy, and you will do things that you're not so proud of, but will really enjoy. This doesn't apply. I am both very proud of this, and I really, really enjoyed this. This might come back later to bite me in the butt, but for now, I think I'll enjoy it. But now, the director has to pick a new head of tech support. Either that, or she'll give that job up to the next director. It's been almost a few days since the interviews, and we're still waiting on the results. Even if I don't end up getting the job, I still gained something from this. I have a better bond with my coworkers, and got rid of that jerk in my office. If enough people like this story, I'll update you on if I got the job or not. Moral of the story: don't shoot an unfamiliar gun. You don't know how strong the kickback's gonna be. Update: I was called into the director's office this morning. She told me it was a risky stunt that I pulled during my interview, but it showed that I took the initiative to step up and address a problem, regardless of the potential risk. So, I got the job. I started crying when hearing the news, and I'm still kind of in it. I start training in a couple of weeks. And congratulations to our newest generals of the Ree. Pixel Liam, I've never seen anything like this before. Look at all of these Rees. You are going to save us from all the entitled parents. Along with another new general, Lost Berserker. Lost Berserker, you left me a ton of Rees. Karen told me she hates your guts.
Ha! Lost Berserker? Sounds like a pathetic daddy's boy. And so does Pixel Liam. Re-Army, Mr. Reddit. So pathetic. You're all a bunch of daddy's boys and stupid girls.
Karen, can I ask you a serious question?
What, Mr. Reddit?
Why are you so mean and entitled?
How dare you call me names? I want to speak to your manager.
No, seriously, Karen. I'm sure it can be stressful. Dropping the kids off at soccer, talking to so many managers, and suing so many people. I know it's not as easy as people think it is, Karen.
You're right, it's not. My life is hard. You don't know what I've been through.
Just take a deep breath, Karen. It's gonna be okay.
Wait! How dare you try to get me to trust you. Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm dumb? Like all your little stupid rearmy friends on YouTube?
Alright, Karen, I tried to be nice to you, but now you're calling my friends dumb.
Because they are! And pathetic. Leaving all those stupid re-comments.
Alright, Karen, you want to keep calling us names? You asked for it. Let's do it, you guys. Let's get more rees than ever before. Show Karen who the boss is.
Not funny!
That's all for now, but don't be blue. I'll be back soon with more stories for you. Remember to listen to Mr. Reddit every night, so your dreams will be wonderful like you are and bright.